Hello, Title Tribe. How are we doing tonight? Mike and I are back with our fourth mock draft, Dynasty rookie mock draft of the draft season. It's 12 team, super flex, no tight end premium or any of that. Pretty standard. I'm excited to get into it.
Hold on, let me add there you go,
There we
the
go.
draft board. Forgot about that for a second. Um, that's pretty important because I'm sure people would rather look at that than our, beautiful mugs. But yeah, our fourth week, which doesn't feel like our fourth week, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Kind of feels like these are breezing by, that the draft is just a little over a month away. Soon we're going to have landing spots for these players and stuff like that. So it's going to get really interesting soon.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pro days going on right now as well, I think. Right, USC was today.
Yep.
Who was the other one?
Was
There's another
Ohio
big.
State today? Is that why all that Marvin Harrison drama
That's
was
right,
going
yeah,
on?
because he didn't perform today. That was, I think, the other big one. I think a few big schools, but those are the two that stuck out because Caden Allen was at USC's pro day,
Mm.
which is a pretty dead giveaway what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you want to get this started, or you want to have anything else you want to bring up?
Uh, Well, we're not doing landing spots or anything.
Oh
Just
no.
just strictly what we think of the players. Don't want to no need to add any more variables. But yeah, no, we can go ahead and start it. I'm
All
ready. What
right.
pick are we at? I've got the six.
Actually, I'll let everybody know we're about to start before we do that. Let me do it on my phone. Because anytime I try to, for whatever reason, when you try to tag everyone on your laptop instead of the phone app, like you can't. It just like the whole screen's like, no, we're not doing that. I don't know why.
Yeah, it is.
Uh,
But yeah, Sleeper's website is not very good.
um, by the way, I want to just let you know this. You have the most creative sleeper name in all of sleeperdom, or in all of fantasy football. I really do
Me?
appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's been my name on like every time I've had to make like a username for anything for many years.
really,
Yeah,
really.
I don't know if you. My last name is Cola. If that's
Oh yeah, I know, but I still think that I figured that. But I just found that as very creative. I like when have people have like a play on words type thing going on. So I enjoy that.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's get this thing started. Okay. Yep. There we go. 101.
All right. Oh, getting someone to bail. Who has to bail? I could probably.
Oh, Marvin Harrison going at the 1-1. I see the bailing thing now too.
Yeah, Jerry. Or I don't know if he's watching this, but if you bail now, I can. Oh, somebody says I'll take his spot.
I guess somebody's. Oh no,
Oh,
he's also in the draft too. I guess he meant take his 105 spot. But
wait. I don't see.
oh,
I
he's
don't
still
see
here now.
fantasy.
So
Fantasy anonymous. I don't see him in.
no, it looks like the same picture.
Oh, you're right.
That's what's confusing.
Interesting.
Yeah, he just left.
Okay, I can. I should be able to. Yeah,
Oh,
Jerry. Don't worry about it. Kids come first.
it is what it is. Things happen. Life happens. Life finds a way, as they say in Jurassic Park. So we had one person leave before, and it was able to do auto draft, I think. So I'm sure we'll find out here
I,
briefly
I'm told that people can't join the draft now because it's
once
already
it
started.
started.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Um, Genesis says in the chat, "Let's do this." We're trying. We're working on it. A little bit of a monkey wrench thrown in on our laps here quickly, but
That's
let's
all
just
right.
go over. Yeah,
One auto pick spot isn't the end of the world.
no. Marvin Harrison Jr. went at the 1-1. Caleb Williams at the 1-2. Drake May at the 1-3. And Genesis is on the clock now, running a little bit low on time, but up Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers. I think that's pretty chalk,
Brock
right?
Bowers at 5 is interesting.
Well, non-tight end premium, yeah, I agree.
I'm surprised that auto picked. Is Bowers ahead of Neighbors on this ranking? I don't think he
Unless
is.
he set up like a queue or something like that, maybe. Maybe it's just going off that.
All right. Well, if people are gonna let Neighbors fall to the 106, I will take that all day long.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against that, but I'll take my wide receiver 2 of the class, Dunze. So I think the one real big thing in non-tight end premium right now would be Bowers over Neighbors. I don't really see that happening in a non-tight end premium. In tight end premium, I can absolutely see it maybe in like a half point extra or full extra. I feel like that could happen. But if Neighbors goes to a team like the Chargers, I feel like he could be the highest fantasy scorer for rookies. Keon Coleman at the 1.8.
Spicy. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trip Brown says wide receiver 1. I don't know if he's talking about
probably Neighbors.
Neighbors, yeah. I maybe agree. I definitely don't think, for me, there's really no difference between like those top couple of receivers and Alvin Brooks at the 109. That's interesting. Like
he's gained a lot of steam lately. I feel like I've seen his name more and more recently for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he's not doing any kind of like combine or pro day because of the injury. But he is a lot of everybody's consensus running back 1. So if he gets that round 2, 3 capital, I could see him being a back end first in rookie drafts.
Yeah.
But we'll have to just see if teams are willing to take the gamble on a running back that has an ACL tear a couple months ago.
Trip Crown says, what are your favorite wide receiver fits to NFL teams?
I just wrote an article about that for Toilets and Titles. Yeah. So speaking of Keon Coleman, I had him in this latest article going to the Baltimore Ravens. They really don't have a wide receiver at all like Keon Coleman. Above the rim, big body, athletic type profile. That would be a good one. I feel like this is pretty chalk, but Brian Thomas going to Miami would be fun. He again would bring another dimension, but with still the track meet speed that team has, he could keep up, obviously, but he's bigger than everybody they have on that team by quite a large margin. A sneaky one that I really, really like is Tez Walker to Indianapolis for the AFC. I posted it on Twitter earlier today. I don't know if you remember, what's his name, the uncle from Napoleon Dynamite, who goes, I bet you I could throw a football over those mountains. And then it's the other. Yeah. And then it's the picture of SpongeBob where he's the quickster. He's like, I bet you I could run to that mountain and back. I bet you I could do it again. And I was like, this is how I picture Anthony Richardson and Tez Walker playing together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be fun. I really like, speaking of Anthony Richardson, and we've got another auto pick in here, unfortunately. And actually, those last 2 guys are also not in the draft room right now. So we might have a couple of auto picks here.
I mean, it should go pretty quickly now that it's other auto pick.
I would love for you to be Team 5. I don't know. Can you actually? Would you mind pausing the draft real quick?
Yeah, can I do that? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I think if you pull up settings and.
Yep, I got it.
I wonder if that lets people join or if it's too late.
Yeah, do you want to try that?
I don't even know how to. Grant, I sent you the link. Can you get in from there, or does it not let you? It probably doesn't let. Yeah, he said I can't. All right. Well, yeah, I guess we'll just have to
keep it rolling.
Fortunately. Hey, Grant, you can tell us who you'd take.
Yeah, we'll accept those. We'll put you as a 13. We'll make this a 13-team draft.
You could manually assign the picks, but that seems a little unnecessary.
I mean, I could. I mean, I wouldn't mind it.
Okay, Superchargers is back, but he missed his pick, but that's all right.
Yeah, things happen. Sometimes you got to step away from your phone for 2 minutes. Yeah. Hello, Pete. How are you doing? Good evening. I feel like I got to learn that soon, to step away from the phone for just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Once you start a mock, you can't swap a new user in. Yeah, we're finding that one out the hard way. But again, a lot of the times, even in your regular rookie drafts, you're always going to have an auto pick or two show up. So you gotta be prepared for the computer to shake some things up for you.
All right, so
we might have one in here again. 30 seconds left.
But back to those.
Landing spots. Yeah, got completely thrown off.
Speaking of Anthony Richardson, I love the idea of Ricky Pearsall to the Colts. Reunite them from Florida.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, Richardson's last year. Pearsall was probably their best receiver, and they worked really well together. Just the way that Pearsall worked in zone coverage, and the way that Anthony Richardson is able to read certain types of coverage and certain types of leverage, I think would work really well together. As the auto pick goes with J.J. McCarthy.
Which is probably about right if the NFL, brass seems to think he's going to be a, top 15 pick.
Yeah. It seems now like McCarthy, I think in Daniel Jeremiah's new mock draft, McCarthy went 4th overall, the top 4.
Oh, wow. Now, here's something really surprising that we have not seen at all. Brian Thomas going at the 2-1. Yeah. We've talked about on here how I'm not like the biggest Brian Thompson fan, but getting him at the 2-1, if he's like a first-round pick, seems like a slam dunk, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. This is a pretty interesting board, actually, the way it's
currently constructed.
It was 2 running backs
at the 2-2.
Yeah, I think
that makes sense.
Once you get into the second round, I think like running backs will start to fly.
Yeah, at first, I feel like in our first mock, a lot of it was the end of the second, early third.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to pick up because I think people are realizing how limited this running back class is. So they're trying to get the top guys in quicker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Mitchell.
At the 204, that's got to be the steal of the draft so far for me.
Yeah, it's between him and Brian Thomas at the 2-1. And again, it's not two guys I'm currently high on, but like if you're getting them there, I can't be mad at it at all. It's a great pick by both those guys, Genesis and Odor. If I said that wrong, I apologize. It's my Philadelphia accent. We can't pronounce names to save our lives.
Yeah, Supercharger said BTJ at 201 is a crime. I agree.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, now I'm on the clock. I think with 4 running backs off the board, I definitely tend to look receiver here. Bo Nix is certainly interesting, depending on the capital he gets. I think worst case scenario, he goes early second or maybe mid to early second. So I think that's a fairly safe pick at this point in a rookie draft.
I could agree with that.
And there's so many receivers, like even in the 3rd round, I think you're going to get someone. So I think I'll go with Nix here.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. And then I'm going to match you. I'm going to put my Yu-Gi-Oh reference here and put my card in defense mode and go Michael Penix. I think both of these guys have been in the 2nd round conversation, maybe late first, with how hungry the NFL is for quarterbacks. Both older prospects, but I feel like the quarterback position isn't the worst to be an older prospect. Like it is for like a wide receiver or running back or offensive line. I don't think the quarterback position is like the worst thing to have one of the older players there.
Yeah, I agree. I think having all that experience can be just as easily looked at as a positive for a young quarterback.
I feel like I should have sorry, go ahead.
Bo Nix started 60 games in college, which is crazy to even think about. But
yeah, he started his career off at Auburn, right? And then transferred over to Oregon. I think he spent 2 years at Oregon or not Oregon, Auburn.
Yeah. I think he was there at Oregon or at Auburn for probably a little longer. And then I think Oregon, he was there for 2 years.
Okay. So I think, he's a 5'5". Let me look that up actually.
Yeah, 5 years. I want to say 3 years at Auburn and then 2 at Oregon. Xavier Leggett at the 208. I'm waiting for the message from Grant in the chat.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so he was at Auburn for 3, Oregon for 2.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel bad for him for playing for Auburn, though.
Yeah, he was fighting battles on his own.
Fighting the good fight out there.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey at the 2.9 is a steal.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Speaking of the landing spots, I put Ladd at the Steelers, which I think would be a perfect fit now that Deontay Johnson is gone.
Yeah, I agree. Him and Pearsall at the 210. Both of them are kind of the guys that I would like to see at the Steelers. They're similar, like have inside-outside flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Ladd would be great. I mean, a compliment to Pickens. They're such obviously polar opposite players. That would be a fun fit in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're a Steelers fan, correct?
Yes.
What did you think of, while we're waiting here, the Justin Fields trade? Because I almost threw my phone as an Eagles fan into the river.
Yeah. So I was very, very happy about it. I love the idea of just basically. I mean, we basically just swapped out Pickett for Fields,
mm-hmm.
which I love because I don't think I think Fields' ceiling is so much higher. He's
right.
Even when they drafted Pickett, I was never a fan of that pick. Like he just didn't really get you excited. Justin Fields, even if I don't think he's particularly good, that's exciting and that's fun. I think as a fan, that's all you can really ask for sometimes. I think the Eagles probably would have ended up with him if the Bears had just taken the best offer, because they said they sent him to Pittsburgh because that's where he wanted to go.
Which is good, which is nice to do right by him. But I thought the Eagles probably were the one team that probably made a better offer. But I felt it's possible Justin Fields thought he was never going to be able to start there, and Kenny Pickett's probably dealing with the same thing right now. I'm just more pissed that the Eagles spent more on Kenny Pickett than they did on Justin Fields, like the Steelers did on Justin Fields, and I much rather have Justin Fields over Kenny Pickett, especially since, I wouldn't compare Justin Fields to Jalen Hurts by any stretch of the imagination, but they're both very similar, both mobile quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett's not a statue, but I wouldn't say he's anywhere near the two of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I will say, I think, and Trip Crown makes a good point. Part of it is money. Pickett has
I did see that
on the rookie contract, where Fields, you have to make a decision right away. It's like the Steelers are going to have to decide what to do with his 5th-year option in like a month. The deadline for that is May 1st.
Yeah, I did see it was like 25 or 26 million in 2 years for Fields or something like that.
Dang, all my guys
just flew off the board.
It's a shame.
The third round with Polk, Corley, Walker, Wilson, Burton. There's some good value in there, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
especially with God.
No, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I'm just reading it at the same time, so I'm like, I'm not great at reading and talking at the same time. Polk, Corley, and Wilson are probably going to get better draft capital than we imagine. So I think getting them in the third round is good value, and I think those are going to be decent players on our rosters.
Yeah.
I'm still hopeful for Tez Walker. Every time I think I'm out, he pulls me back in.
I think now that run on receivers really put a damper on what I was trying to do. I think, man, Sleeper's got to do something about Javon Baker's ranking. What are we doing? You have to scroll all the way down.
Yeah, I would really appreciate if you left him alone.
Aiden Hatton, who I've never even heard of, went to Idaho. Sure. I think I'm going to go Marshawn Lloyd here, though.
That's a good pick.
I'm not super high on him or anything, but at the 306, that's really good value.
You
Did
should have seen that one coming.
I remind you to take Javon Baker there?
Yeah, yeah,
How low it
yeah.
is?
I think that'll change eventually. Pretty much, it's just me in startups that is taking Javon Baker, trying to raise his ADP on my own. But I do like that Marshawn Lloyd pick a lot. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who comped into DeAndre Swift, and every time I watch him now, I can't unsee it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good comp.
And if both of them have injury concerns. Both, I would say, I don't think Swift has the fumbling issue that Lloyd has, but that could be corrected, I would think.
Not that I remember.
But I definitely think he's got some elusive ability that can make, us dynasty managers pretty happy, to break off long runs and stuff like that.
Yep.
Brendan Rice to 3.9.
One more thing I'll say about the Kenny Pickett Eagles thing, just to make you feel a little bit better about it.
Don't do it.
I will say I think Kenny Pickett is like the ideal backup quarterback because he doesn't turn the ball over. He's smart. He plays safe with the ball. He's not going to lose you games. He's not going to win you games, but he's not going to lose you games. In however as bad as he's been, like however many games he's started, it's been like a full season of games or a little over a full season of games, and he's thrown only a handful of interceptions.
And a lot of those handful of interceptions usually came in like 1 or 2 games because if he doesn't throw any, he's throwing like 4, which is crazy. But my thing with Kenny Pickett, and I think it's not fair, but I think he pissed me off so much last year because I was just starting like tweeting on social media, putting my Dynasty 2 cents out there, and I was like, I think Kenny Pickett was a decent buy going into last season. I kept trying to promote it. He showed some flashes at the end of the season before, a couple fourth quarter punt comebacks. I think he had 3 or 4 of them, which were impressive. A couple game winning drives. He seemed like he had the juice, and now he just broke my heart a little bit. I'm a scorned lover, I guess you could say.
That's what the Steelers always liked about him, that he was like just kind of like a gamer, and that which it's not the best analysis.
Yeah. It's pretty much what Cam Newton was talking about. You're either a game manager or you're a game changer, or whatever exactly he said. I would definitely put Kenny Pickett in the game manager section of that conversation.
Definitely.
Bucky Irving at the 4-2. First of all, Wiz, I hate you because you know how much I love Bucky. That's incredible value to me. I think people are falling into the combine trap just a little bit with him.
Yeah. I think it's fair to move him down a bit from the combination of him being lighter than expected and slower than expected. I think if it's fair to, knock him down a little bit, but if you had him as like a top 5 RB and now he's going in the 4th round, like that's a great value. Oh, I know you had him as RB1, so
yeah, he's like, so I have that 1, 2, and 3 kind of in the same tier, so it could be flip-flopped to me, but he, to me, looked so good on film. Like a dude that small shouldn't be as good at contact balance as he is, and I just really like that. And I think he has some of the best hands in the class too. That can't be.
And Mike, you're kind of, I don't know if it's just for me, but you're cutting in and out a little bit.
How about now?
Yeah, it's still a little, you sound very robotic, but I don't know if it's just me or.
Let me see. Good on my.
Okay.
He says Trip Crowns is good on your end.
I guess this is my fault. Oh well, I'll have to deal with it.
I was like, I don't really know what to do here. I felt like Talladega Nights, Ricky, but I don't know what to do with my hands, kind of thing. But I was saying about Bucky, he has some of the best hands in the class as well. And I think if he went to a team like the Chargers, it would be beautiful. Dylan Lobby, good pick.
Yeah, that is a good pick. One thing, Chargers would be a good spot for him. One thing I just want to say about these drafts that I've noticed that's really surprising is Joe Milton tends to go before a lot of time. I mean, in this case, and a lot of times in the past, before Rattler and before Pratt. who are both like very much considered to be ahead of him by like on NFL teams boards. I guess people just the arm strength. They're like, oh, I'd rather take a shot on something like that in the 4th round as opposed to a Rattler or a Pratt, who are probably more destined to being career backups. Not,
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Milton. I don't even think he is going to be a career backup, but he might be a career backup in a different league.
I mean, we talked about Uncle Rico earlier, and you can't find anybody that that embodies Uncle Rico like Joe Milton does with the throw the football over the mountains type thing. Whoa, what am I doing here? I really like Michael Pratt though as a. No, I don't want to start McClellan. Jesus. I do like Michael Pratt as a sleeper though. I don't think he has the strongest arm by any means, but he puts the ball where it needs to. He's a very accurate passer. I think his deep balls are not, like I said, strong, but they kind of just drop in there, and it looks really nice.
Yeah, that's fair. Just I don't know. I've watched too much of him in my time watching college football to ever think of him as an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, I'm running out of time here.
Come on.
That's probably my fault. Jacob Counting, that's a good pick. Who would I be without not taking Kinami Vidal, who's definitely picked up some steam after the combine?
Yeah, he had a very good combine. So I want to get kind of reading this conversation happening in the chat in the draft room.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are kind of trying to figure out what's going on. I kind of can see it. I was trying to look at the.
So what do you think about with a guy? I don't know how you feel about Leggett in terms of film, but how do you weigh the fact that like he has really zero production before his 5th year, and he's like 23 coming in? Like, is that something you think about?
So yeah, typically at first that did concern me a little bit. I did start here. I can't remember what it was, to be honest with you, but recently I started hearing that there was a reason why he was a late breakout. There was something to do with either he started football late. I don't remember what it was. So that could be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I can just say kind of what it was. It was when he was in high school. He just out of necessity, his coach asked him to switch to quarterback because he was such a good athlete, and they just needed somebody, and so he did that. So he wasn't really playing receiver in college, and then he comes to the NFL, to South Carolina, and there was some other adversity that he had that I can't exactly remember that part of it, and then obviously COVID and all that stuff. So, but anyway, sorry, continue. I just wanted to give context.
Yeah, so that's what I had heard. I just wasn't sure. I couldn't remember off the top of my head what it was, why the kind of slow build to him, what it could have been part of it, but he kind of falls in that Keon Coleman mold where they're both very, very raw. That could be like very good because of their size, their athletic ability, stuff like that. When I watched him on film, he didn't like jump out to me. His routes are a bit rounded. His comeback routes are a little bit rounded. He doesn't play soft by any means. I wouldn't say that. I wish he was a little bit of a better contested catch player at his size. Like he has a good percentage of that, but I feel like he doesn't have the body control just down yet. And that could be part of being a late bloomer wide receiver. So yeah, my ears are a little bit perked up when it comes to him because, the raw athletic ability. And where did he go at the 2.8? I mean, you're kind of in dart throw period at that point anyway. I would take Ladd over him and probably Pearsall as well. But I don't mind taking a stab on a guy like that. Because to be honest, at the beginning, I was completely out with the 5-year breakout. The film didn't really look great, but then I started, like you just said, I started looking at things a little bit further or hearing things a little bit further, and I was like, okay, maybe that makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Rich says, "What's going on, guys? Doing a great job."
Thank you.
Appreciate that. How are you doing, Rich? Trip around, I'd take the next 10 picks over Leggett, meaning the 10 picks after Leggett.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, like I said, there's definitely a few guys I would take over Leggett, but at the back of the second, early third, you're and later, you're in dart throw territory.
yeah,
So why not take it on a guy who's got the athletic traits? Athletical. I don't think that's a word, but I mean, we're going to use it. We're going to let it fly. Um, that he could be good. If he goes to the right situation with a good wide receiver coach, a good coach in general, maybe not having to be obviously don't have to be the first guy right away. Doesn't really have to be the second guy right away. Could
yeah,
be a good spot for him.
yeah, I agree. I think I will say this, his routes, I agree, they look rounded, and he doesn't really have sharp breaks. But after the catch with the ball in his hands, he shows like the physical tools to be able to have sharp breaks. And he drops his hips really well with the ball, like when he's switching directions. But it just doesn't show up in his routes.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think he's got something there to develop with, and he's clearly like a hard worker and a guy who's willing to stick in South Carolina for a long time instead of transferring to get playing time or whatever. So I could see him being like a later career breakout in the NFL. But
Yeah, just like in college, essentially with him.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we end with who is that? DeCorian Clark.
Yeah, that's somebody I haven't watched at all, so I can't.
I don't even know if that's his name. I just kind of made that.
It is. You're actually 110% right because I pulled it up. Because I had to look. I was like, who? And then I looked. I was like, okay, I've heard the name before, but it's not somebody I watched at all.
I know him just like from college football, not from NFL evaluation. He was at UTSA for a very long time. But I have yet to see him go in a rookie draft. So that's
no. I mean, welcome to we're trying to start trends here of players we haven't looked at yet getting drafted.
Also, Jalen Wright. I just noticed this. Jalen Wright at the 409 is absurd.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's not somebody I'm high on, but at 409, that's extremely good value. I think we've had him in the second for at least two of these mocks.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have him, I think, as a top 3 running back. Like it just depending on who you ask. Yeah, Trip Crown says Jalen Wright at 409 is robber. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And then I liked your counting pick, by the way. I think I already mentioned that. Kate Stover at the end at the 412 is nice too.
Yeah, I like that. Depending
especially on if this was tight end premium and you're really just looking for anything, just take your shot. That's a good spot right there.
Yeah. All right. You want to look through the teams and maybe give a shout
Reviews?
out to who you think had the best draft?
I keep clicking on people's names, like team or player names, and it just keeps popping up, and I'm like, I don't want that. Let's see. Do you have one off the top of your head?
Yeah, I like Genesis. What Genesis did.
Yeah, so I looked at that in the beginning, and I really liked it. With Daniels Mitchell.
At the 4th pick, I would tend to lean receiver, but when you can get AD Mitchell at the 204, and then with Daniels there in the first round, that's great. And then Roman Wilson at the 304, not a player I'm particularly high on, but that's good value.
Especially for what we've seen with Mox recently with him, he just keeps flying up.
And then Dylan Lobby at the 405, I love him. Good pass catching upside.
Mm-hmm. Looking here, I think I like Dynasty Wiz FF a lot, especially in a Superflex league. Caleb Williams at the 1-2 is nice. Trey Benson, who is a lot of people's running back 1 right now, he's my running back 2. That's a good value. He could be the first running back off the board. If that happens, getting him at the 2-2 is a really good spot. I've talked on here. I've sung the praises of the Yak King Malachi Corley on a regular basis. So I don't think I have to do that again. Otherwise, I just need to get a Malachi Corley tattoo at this point. And Bucky Irving at the 4. What's that?
I said not a bad idea. Maybe Malachi. Hey, if he ends up on the Eagles, maybe.
Listen, if that happens.
Jersey.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Bucky Irving at the 4-2 is to me a smash. But
yeah.
Let's see who else do we got. I like the auto pick at 111 as well. I'm not like the hugest JJ fan just yet. I haven't watched a whole lot, but if he ends up going in the first round at 111, that's great. You know what I mean? Um, Jatamion Sanders at 211 and Ray Davis at 311 are big. I think Ray, if you're in obviously if you're at the 111, more than likely you're a competing team. So Ray Davis would be a good pickup for you
Yeah.
because he's going to give you probably 2 years of production at the most. So that would be a great pick as well. Anybody else you like?
I mean, I like both of our teams, honestly.
Yeah, for a second I thought I was just going to go all Washington Huskies picks.
Yeah, hey, I mean, there are way worse drafts that you can have than going all Washington. They've got a lot of good players.
No, I really love. I mean, I mentioned it, and I'm not gonna sing your praises too much as you're the host of the show. But Marshawn Lloyd at the 3-6 is just that's robbery at this point.
Yeah, I really think come rookie drafts, there's going to be a lot of this where you have guys fall just because there's so much. Maybe it's just because we haven't seen draft capital yet, but I feel like that there's so many differing opinions this year, much more so than what I remember from the last couple of years.
Very true, and we talked about it last week. The amount of running back signings kind of pushes this running back class a little bit further back than we already kind of what we're talking about in general.
Yeah.
So it's just going to matter on draft capital, like you mentioned at this point for a lot of these guys, like Estime, who I thought was like he is still a top 5 guy to me, but he's really slipped. Like I think he was 4th round last time. We're at 3.8 right now. I could see him possibly rising come draft time. Just because I think the NFL still likes their big, short yardage running backs.
Yeah, definitely. He's an efficient runner. He's going to keep you ahead of the chains. Teams always need a guy like that.
And like I don't understand what people expected his 40 to look like.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe people were expecting him to weigh in a little bit bigger also, and that's
true. I can see that. Yeah.
And I think just seeing if he ran like a 4.68 as opposed to a 4.72, I don't think people would care nearly as much.
I think it's the 7 that's throwing people off.
That big scary 7 after the decimal point.
Yeah. So he looks. I think he's one of those that game speed is going to mean a lot more than the 40 speed because he does not look that slow to me on film. Now, mind you, I say 4.72 is slow, but I would never hit that in my life. So,
we hold ourselves to different standards.
Yeah. I'm pretty much the guy at the end of dodgeball watching these 40 times. So I can't talk shit, but there were a couple guys that I wasn't sure how their 40 was going to look. Like, I'm a big Javon Baker guy. He ran a 4.56, I think it was, or something like that. And he was one I was having trouble gauging his speed on film because he also at the Senior Bowl ran 20.99 miles per hour or something like that. So that was like I wasn't sure what to do with his 40. Who else surprised in the 40? Now that we're talking about it,
I will say I don't know. I feel like these days teams aren't going to value 40s as much as they maybe have before, because the GPS data is so much better.
True.
Than a 40,
it tracks
and
it a lot better too.
Easily available. I feel like that's what teams are going to be basing off of, and I think I'm pretty sure that Estime's GPS times were pretty good, and he has I think he had like a 90-yard run.
Yeah, against where he hurdled somebody, right?
Yeah.
Was that same play that I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Like none of his explosive metrics were great by any stretch of the imagination, but I saw this dude at 220 pounds hurdle somebody. I absolutely still could not do that.
Yeah, well, it's because he's tough to tackle, so you guys got to go low on him, and he is expecting that he can hurt. Like Najee Harris always hurdles people for some reason because he's not a particularly guy, but everybody goes low on him.
Now, actually, now that we're talking about the 40, his pro day was yesterday. He didn't run the 40, but I saw bits and pieces of his cone work. Braylon Allen, a lot of people weren't overly thrilled.
Yeah, he didn't run.
No, he didn't run the 40 at the pro day either. I think he saw Estimate's 4.72. He's like, yeah, about that, I'm not doing it.
Braylon Allen, I feel like would have done a decent time, but maybe not if he probably did it with his trainer or whatever and was like, this is not worth it.
He did say something. I think he responded to somebody's tweet on Twitter about how he's still a little injured or something like that. So it could be part of it as well. But I think he could have benefited greatly if he would have at least been in the 4.6s. Because he looks slower than Estimate to me.
Yeah, I agree. Estimate accelerates into contact, whereas Braylon Allen kind of like just like lets guys hit him, which I feel makes him look a little slower.
It could be, yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I never thought of it that way.
And I think that's accelerating into contact, I think, is like a really important trait for running backs that it's just like you fall forward and get extra yards so much more easily than, if you're letting the defender come at you.
Kind of like a Jordan Howard.
Yeah.
I was always a big Jordan Howard guy. I don't know why, but I never actually asked you, what do you think of it? Like we've just briefly talked about him, but where's Estime in your mind, like draft wise, ranking wise?
Yeah, I think I have him. If Lloyd wasn't there, I maybe would have taken Estime at that 306 spot.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I have him. I don't know. I still need to watch more of these running backs. I just don't want to.
It's not fun. Yeah, it's not fun. Like it's not like last year.
Yeah, it's been tough to get myself to really sit down and grind out that stuff.
You got to start at the top and just like don't start at the bottom because you're just never going to get through it. You're just gonna be like, okay, just get me out of here as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I had fun watching Brooks and Benson, and then I was like, oh yeah, I liked Estime, and then after that, I just kind of, I don't know. Braylon Allen had probably some of the most boring tape I've ever watched.
Yeah, I was not a fan of his at all, to be honest with you. I wasn't really a big fan of Jalen Wright either. I felt like if it wasn't a home run, it was nothing. Because I watched one game, I think he had like 11 carries. He had one 65-yard run, and then like the rest were maybe 30 yards at the most. So I think he ended with like 11 carries, 90 yards, and 65 of it came from one or something like that. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I feel like if he's not breaking something off huge, he's not doing anything else.
Yeah, no, that's fair. He's also a guy. First of all, I just hate watching that Tennessee offense
because it's so misleading.
I was losing my mind last year trying to watch for Hendon Hooker, Cedric Tillman, and Jalen Hyatt. Just like they run like two routes. Every running play is like against a 5-man box, and you're like, I don't even know how does this translate to the NFL? It's a tough offense to watch. But
see, I'm probably gonna lose some people here, but I really liked Cedric Tillman last year. Yeah. He kind of falls into that same thing with Xavier Legette, right? Where they're both big body, kind of molds of clay. But the thing is, like Tillman broke out, for a year and then got hurt his senior season. Or am I mixing those up?
No, you're
but
right.
He always performed really, really well against teams like Georgia, Alabama. His routes were like, okay, he didn't really have the best long speed, but he was kind of just a big body. I comped him to another South Carolina receiver, actually, Alshon Jeffrey. And I really had hopes for him. I didn't really love the Browns landing spot, and now he kind of seems with Judy there, Cooper there, Elijah Moore there. I mean, he's their big body wide receiver. Let's see what happens. But
I think he's just their new like Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah,
those are both two guys who are really good blockers, possession receivers, like big body possession receivers who aren't particularly like athletic. They're kind of like the I don't know, in like the Mike Williams-ish mold where like they just like will make tough catches at the sticks and like that kind of thing, but not really. Like they're mostly just out there. Like Donovan Peoples-Jones is the king of just being out there running cardio. I think
Yeah.
that might be Cedric Tillman's destiny, unfortunately.
Who did you prefer out of the two wide receivers in Tennessee last year between Hyatt and Tillman?
I preferred Tillman.
Okay.
Definitely. I liked Tillman too. I wasn't like I ended up grabbing him in a couple leagues in like the third round.
Same.
I
think
Hyatt. I think now I actually kind of like Hyatt as like a buy very low right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could probably get him for basically free. I thought he looked actually pretty good on film as a rookie. He just wasn't really in a situation where they could take advantage of him downfield.
He's a really good best ball guy, I think.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Yeah, I grabbed Tillman a lot at the end of like the third round, mid third round, in my rookie drafts last year as well. But dude, I don't know. I really hated that Browns. I think I had him at my wide receiver 6-7 range. So off the top of my head, it was JSN, Addison, Flowers, Quentin Johnston, which I didn't really want him there, but he got the landing spot, Marvin Mims, and then Tank Dell and Cedric Tillman were like neck and neck to me. I really liked Tank Dell. I just didn't. Yeah, I was. I just I thought he was a really good route runner. The drops were a little bit of concern for him. I just wasn't sure. Like I liked watching him, so that's why he was in my top 6-7, I think, range. But I just wasn't sure how that size was going to mix into the NFL, right? Like you look at him and Zay Flowers, them being around the same height, but Zay Flowers is built so much bigger than he is. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So he was an interesting one. He was kind of like a dart throw for me, and it ended up working out pretty well. I think I had him before I added all these leagues this year. I had him in about half or more. I think I had him in 3 to 4 out of my 6 leagues last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now I'm trading him, to be honest, because he's very, very. See, I woke up to a trade the other day. Let me pull it up for you real quick. But I was too slow on the draw. Like I was sleeping and I woke up to it and somebody else accepted the similar offer before I could get to it.
This is for Tank.
Yeah, for Tank. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was for Ray Rice, but the person ended up switching and giving the same offer to the Tank Dell owner. So, yeah, the offer ended up being 1.7 and 308 for Tank Dell.
1.7 and 308 for Tank. That's interesting. Yeah, I would definitely take the 107.
Oh, 100%. I would too.
Super flex, I assume.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wanted the top 7. I'll take over honestly like most receivers at this point. The 107 or like those top 3 receivers are just so good to me.
Oh, speaking of that class, one last thing before we hop off this. I know we're getting a little bit off topic. We're going back in time here a little bit, but I put my top 12 Dynasty wide receivers on Twitter, and it caused a little bit of scuttlebutt. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. A few people were upset that I had AJ Brown over Puka. What do you think on that?
I'm a really big fan of AJ Brown. I have him you'd probably be hard pressed to find anyone who has him higher than I do. I do actually need to sit down and make new dynasty rankings for this coming year, which I haven't gotten a chance to do. But this is an argument I've had with friends recently. I would take AJ Brown over Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, see, right now I have AJ at 4 and Harrison at 5.
Okay.
So I agree with you.
AJ Brown at 4. That's it. Who's the consensus for? I feel like I'm. Oh, Amon.
Well, right now it's a lot of people are taking Harrison over AJ. In a lot of mocks or startups I've done, AJ's fallen into the 3rd round.
Yeah. Wait, so you would take Marvin Harrison over Amon-Ra?
See, I have them in the same tier. So that 4, 5, 6 tier is AJ, Harrison, St. Brown. Now, if Harrison goes to a team like the Giants, I would flip that from St. Brown to Harrison. But if he goes to the Chargers, I think that's wheels up. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just really loved what I saw from Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, totally.
On film, but I think he's worthy of a top 5 spot, in my opinion, top 6. And St. Brown, you're probably not going to find a more consistent wide receiver than St. Brown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Which,
no, I think he's probably my like clear wide receiver 4.
mm-hmm.
Then I would.
So you would take him over AJ Brown?
Yeah, then I'd probably put AJ Brown, then Puka. I don't know. I'm just like a little lower on Marvin. It's not even like having Marvin Harrison where he is makes sense to me. It's just when you can get Malik Neighbors further and Odunze like a good bit further back in startups, I'm just never going to draft Marvin Harrison.
I could see, yeah, I could agree with that. That's not, that's not crazy to think that way. I kind of agree with it.
Yeah, like I'd rather say you're at like in the middle of the second round, you could take like Garrett Wilson, AJ Brown, whoever, and then by the time it gets to your next pick, then you could take the rookie, like you could take Neighbors rather than I'd much rather have that as opposed to Harrison and then whatever veteran you'd get in the next round.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, so you would have probably Harrison at like the 7-8 section.
Yeah.
I mean, from 5 to 7, it's really not that big of a drop because I have Harrison at 5. So 5 to 7 isn't a huge drop off. And I have 4, 5, and 6 all in the same tier. And I think 7 and 8 are, for me, Garrett Wilson and Puka.
Okay.
Which I love Puka, man. He was another one that I had a lot of shares of going into the draft coming out of the draft last year. I was getting him in a Debbie startup last year. I got him in the 26th round or something like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Won me a title, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Won a lot of people titles, I think.
Yeah.
I just, before we go, I did pull up my 2023 rookie dynasty rankings from right before the rookie drafts. I had JSN, Flowers, then Addison, then QJ, Jaden Reed.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
Mims one. At 6 is not great. Mingo at 7, not great. I had Tank Dell all the way down at 12, and Rashee Rice down at 13. I was not big on Rice.
See, he was one of the ones, if you go back on my Twitter, I was really high on Rice. And then as we got close to the draft and I started watching more and I started like really watching all 22 film, I was like, okay, this dude really isn't getting away from anybody at all. And not your fault, respected the draft capital. I think he's talking about QJ on that one.
I think maybe with Tank Dell probably, or yeah, I think having Tank Dell as low as I did.
Oh, at 12. Yeah, that could be that too.
Tank Dell was kind of a high pick. I don't know. Maybe just the rankings in general. That's probably what he said.
Who are we talking about? Oh, Mingo. And Mingo. Yeah, I was not high on Mingo at all.
I was never like gonna draft him anywhere. I just like had him. It's I don't know. I need to be more. I think a lesson I learned from last year is to be a little more confident.
Diverse.
Just confident in my own opinions and not listen to like if I and not pay quite as much attention to draft capital. Obviously, it's important because it determines how much opportunity the player gets.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, to kind of just rest on my own evaluations, because I'd rather be wrong because I was wrong about the player than be wrong because I just drafted a guy I don't like as much.
No, I 100% agree with that. I really wanted to put Mims above QJ, but when he fell into the Chargers, because I was praying JSN, Addison, Flowers, or Dalton Kincaid would have went to the Chargers, and none of that happened. And of course, we ended up with QJ, who now is pretty much just like living on a prayer at this point.
I was. While I'm a Steelers fan, Justin Herbert is probably my favorite player. So I'm.
Is it the hair?
That helps certainly.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah.
But I was so like watching the draft, when it came to their pick, I was like on my knees begging for them to take Zay Flowers, and they take Quentin Johnson, and I was devastated. And then of course Zay Flowers, like probably my favorite player from that draft, like relative to consensus, goes to the Ravens, my least favorite team.
Ended up working out good for him, though. I know there's people falling off Zay because of like what happened in that last game, but dude, he's still so young. He's still so good. Like
he also he was their whole offense in that game. He just made a couple
100%.
He made a couple of dumb plays. He's a rookie. He'll learn.
Yeah, and that's a good team to learn with, like Harbaugh, Mark Andrews, Lamar. Like that's, it most likely won't happen again.
Yeah, they do things the right way in Baltimore. All right, we should probably get out of here.
Yeah, before we go into the 2022 draft class, before that happens.
All right. Well, thanks to anyone who's stuck with us as we rambled on about nothing. And thanks for joining us.
It might continue to happen.
Yeah. Always, it's hard to pull me away from my computer when I'm talking about draft stuff. I could sit here all day. All right, but thanks for joining us, and we'll hopefully see you guys next week for another one. All right.
Have a good night. Oh yeah, I gotta hit the button.